all of us took a constitutional oath to uphold our state's constitution. And in it, it says that every child in the state from ages of 4 to 20 is entitled to a free public education. Now, for decades, about 30 years, Wisconsin Republicans have not been meeting that obligation by chronically underfunding and undermining public education. We have Republican budgets and Republican policies that are forcing teachers out of the workforce, that are discouraging young people from going into education. We're seeing class sizes increase. Our national reading scores and math scores are not where they should be because we are not giving our kids and our teachers the resources that they need to succeed. Our plan ensures that we're investing $1 billion in special education reimbursement. Now, this is incredibly important because we are mandated by law and by hopefully our own moral understanding that every kid deserves an education. We have to provide services for all kids so that they can all reach their potential and thrive. Unfortunately, the state only provides a small percentage of the actual cost of providing special education services. And so what that means is that every district in the state of Wisconsin has to take money out of their general fund away from programs that benefit every single child in the state to pay for the services that these kids need. It is time for the state to start recommitting to public education and meeting its obligation. We just cannot afford to do another state budget that shortchanges our kids, and particularly around special education. We need 60%, some sufficient, at an absolute minimum, so that we can stop this toxic, exhausting, unsustainable cycle of forcing districts into referendum, forcing property taxpayers to have to vote to raise their own taxes, and then our schools not having the money that they need. We got over 6,000 emails, I think, in our finance inbox. And just going through a few of them, I mean, obviously, funding for public education, and particularly special ed, was the number one thing that we heard about. It was also, in the last budget cycle, the number one thing that we heard about, because it is the most important thing for so many Wisconsin families. Thinking about what do they want in their life? They want their kids to thrive. They want their kids to have the best opportunities to succeed. That's what all of us want. And yet, the policies that are being pushed in this building are making that hard, and way too hard, for too many families in this state. So, Senator Markline, you have overseen this whole period. You were elected in 2010. You have served on JFC since you were elected to the state Senate in 2014. I think this is your 6th budget cycle. And so I just pulled a couple of the letters from folks in your district, because I think it's really important that we bring people's voices into this process. So Jessica from Dodgeville writes, I'm writing to you as a concerned parent, a business owner, and a school board member in Dodgeville. We are quite literally begging for help. After 16 plus years of underfunding, the system has reached a breaking point. In Dodgeville, we just had 2 referendums fail, and the fallout is heartbreaking. We've had to lay off 13 teachers. Class sizes are going up by 4 to 5 students per room across all grade levels. We've eliminated courses. We've cut advisor and coaching stipends. Our beloved music programs are in jeopardy. Worst of all, the kids know. They see the cuts, they feel the changes, and they ask, why is this happening to us? We have no good answer. Because they didn't deserve this. This is not fair to our schools, our communities, and our future. I am urging you to support a higher special education reimbursement rate, an increase in per pupil spending, an increase in the revenue limits. Please do what's right. Fund our public schools. Ryan is a Platteville resident and an educator in Dodgeville. And he says, both districts have needed to go to referendum to have the minimum funding necessary to operate their schools. These referendums have not been for new facilities, but rather to fund salaries, curriculum, routine maintenance and technology updates, extracurricular activities, etc. Unfortunately, both districts have twice been unable to pass their referendums. This is leaving both districts in impossible situations where they have to make the cuts that will hurt students, staff, and their communities as a whole. State funding for public schools has not kept up with inflation and has left many districts without the necessary funds. I urge you to increase special education funding, per pupil funding, and invest in other programs such as free school meals and mental health programs. This funding is crucial to the thousands of students, educators, and community members that you represent. With a $4 billion budget surplus, there is more than enough money to fund these needs. Jimmy, a school board member in Boscobel, writes, years of applying Band-Aids to breaks in childcare, nutrition, staffing, and administration has left us with educators and community members burned out and looking elsewhere. If the school goes under, the small city we live in will be greatly impacted, as the school is vital to the identity of my community. I know that my representative, Howard Markline, on the Joint Finance Committee is aware of the plight of public education in his district. I have spoken at 2 of his appearances in the past couple of years to call out this lack of public school funding. I do not consider this to be a political stance. Children need support, and so do their families. We are leaving behind our future and creating an increasingly challenging present by ignoring these issues. Bob in Darlington says he's the president of the Darlington Community School District. He wants an increase in the low revenue ceiling from $11,000 to $12,000, an increase in special ed reimbursement rates. Lauren is a lifelong Dodgeville resident. She says, I've seen how the state of Wisconsin has decreased the funding of our public schools over the years, and a growing number of schools have had to rely on passing referendums simply to meet operating needs. As we all know, there's a surplus of money in our state budget. This is not the Wisconsin I grew up in and I'm proud of. I urge you to prioritize the funding of our public schools so that our schools can meet the needs of children in Wisconsin. And finally, we have a Dodgeville High School student named Felix who wrote a great letter to the editor. When someone asks me if I like going to school, I typically say yes. I enjoy my classes, like my teachers, get to hang out with my friends, and prepare myself for my future. And that's what school is all about. It's about teaching young people important skills and preparing them for the wider world. Without schools, we wouldn't have skilled jobs like doctors or scientists. That's it. There's no ulterior motive here. No secret reservations, no grudges held. But I'll put it plain and simple. Our school needs money. I'm a sophomore in high school, and even now I see the changes going on. Teachers talking about leaving, classes in danger of not being reoffered, but it is only going to get worse unless we do something about it. I want whoever's reading this to remember that we, the children, need your help. And stepping up together as one for a common cause to help the children receive a great education, that's powerful. That is something worth fighting for. I couldn't agree more with Felix. This is personal to every one of us, whether we have kids or not. In the last 16 years, our school funding has either been cut or not increased enough to keep pace with inflation. And when you're not keeping pace with inflation, that is a cut. That's not Madison math, that's math. That's just how money works. And right now, our schools are about $3,380 behind where we should have been if you consider $2009, basically. So we have effectively, since 2009, seen a $3,300 per student functional cut in what our schools can buy with that money. And our schools in particular need special ed funding at 60% reimbursement. Every single district is affected by the state underfunding special ed because everyone in the state is obligated to provide these services. Taxpayers are already paying these services. They are being provided. That is a requirement under the law. But because the state is not paying for it, we have property taxpayers shouldering the burden. We are pitting communities against each other. It is wrenching for everyone involved. We know that property taxes are too high and we are over-relying on them to fund our schools. It is inequitable, it is unfair, and it is because of the toxic politics in this building, and it is time for it to end. Fund our schools. What on earth could be a more important priority than giving our kids the best chance to thrive?